It's me. And if I can find our text, then I can give you the intro, which would be excellent. I put too many windows open. Now, we're coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's right. David Mackey shining his head out. It's home to fresh ideas, unadulterated mostly, and conversations which are awesome. I'm trying to get in the chat, but I can't at the moment. Some funny stuff going on.
There.
I know you're there. I can see this. I'm getting in there. Beautiful. I'm in the chat, getting in the chat. Very important. This is show number 500.
No, 612.
That's what I said. 612. You're just not listening very well. 612. 210 and 600. 612. That's just nuts. 612. What? Now, important to understand, though, that this is listener-funded radio, which means you, the revered, yes, that's the word, the revered listener, can keep the station on the air by simply donating if you can, or telling other people about the station so they can donate. And any kind of currency is good. Could be crypto, could be fiat, could be, if it folds, it's good. Jingly is all right, but folding is better if you can. That'd be great. You can catch the air waves with us on them. You can catch us. That's right. You can catch them in many different ways. I'm just mixing it up a bit. And you can catch us terrestrial. There's actually a station that broadcasts FM. That is correct. So we're on the air. We're also on the line, meaning anywhere on the interweb. So just find us anywhere with any kind of app that you want. And you can use your smart devices for that, not just your stationary computers. You can walk around listeners, like in the old days with the transistor radio taped to your ear. I had one of those, believe it or not. Little transistor radios. Awesome. I think I still have it somewhere. But yeah, any app, anywhere, anytime, you can listen to the station. And us, of course. Or at home. At home. Home is good. Comfort of your home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. And if you missed Solaris' show, that's okay. You can always catch her on the archives. Right, that's important to understand. And what's even more important is that the archives are free. That's right. They cost nothing. It's really, really good. And tonight's guests were Madeline Rudy, Zoe Greystone, Miss B, Bill Grant, and it was a sort of a roundtable open topic night, which is pretty cool. But again, if you missed it, you can always catch her in the archives. And it's always worthwhile catching her because honestly, she's got great guests. She's got a great interview style, and she's done much herself. She's a researcher, documentary maker, writer, published, in fact, and experiencer, as well as probably one of the best sources for cybertronic anything, sort of artificial telepathy and more. But yeah, all of that, she has been exposed and she knows what she's talking about. So it's good stuff.
Warfare.
Psychotronic, that's the one. I was going to say cybertronic. It's actually psychotronic warfare. Okay. Now, used to be that we would just thank the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast, and we will do that. And for Dave, that is?
The Dark and John.
And for me, the Dirac people. But I would like to just raise awareness of all the traditional custodians, of all the lands out there. And we would like to pay our respects to all the elders, past, present, and future, of all the First Nations out there. And we do hope that maybe we come to our senses and, listen to you more. I was listening, the reason I'm saying this is I was listening to a report on the ABC or BBC or one of the C's today as I was driving. And I was driving through beautiful Australia from Kiama to Sydney in the morning. And the report was around naming of Aboriginals. And I didn't know this, but apparently back in the 40s, 50s, and earlier, the children of Aboriginals were named by the station owners, like the people where the people maybe worked, like a ranch in America you would call. Yeah, so they would call them, or anyone else for that matter, like the missionaries or whatever, that named them whatever they wanted, pretty much. Hey, Jeremy, how are you, buddy? and UFO Cowboy as well. And they would name them whatever they wanted. And there were names that, in fact, today there's still people alive called Bing Crosby or Shirley Temple, and sometimes they were called Mussolini or Stalin or Hitler, like sort of like a joke name, right? And that's a practice that obviously was recent enough for these people to still be alive. I had no idea. I had no idea that this is what happened. And they didn't even tell the parents about it. I mean, obviously they had their own traditional names, as you would. But then I guess the white man or the white person's name would be, sometimes a name like that. So that's a bit. I felt a bit taken aback by that, to be honest with you, because the thing is this: if you name something like that without having the parents anything inputting into the naming, then it's sort of like naming a pet. And that's sort of that was also the point that was made by the radio program. And they were talking to indigenous people there. It's not so much the name. I mean, look, Bing Crosby is not a bad name, right? Or Shirley Temple, it's a name, of a famous person, maybe a bit of a joke. But the egregious thing here is the naming of the child without the consent of the parent, which is really like naming a pet, which in fact. Because then they went on to say, indigenous people didn't get paid for the work they did back then. They got like some food and rations and whatnot, but didn't get paid. So I mean, it wasn't slavery. No, not in the sense that they were, absconded with or kidnapped and then sold in shackles to the highest bidder, but it was certainly bonded, or even worse, indentured labor, where, well, that's pretty much where, you can't leave. If they left wherever they worked, be it a farm or whatever, they could be arrested. There's no freedom. So it was slavery in everything.
Slavery,
in everything but name. Were they sold and so forth? Not really, no, but they did trade workers between
that's true.
Homesteads. So, look, sorry. A bit of a long preamble here, but just in light of us always acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land, I wanted to acknowledge all of the.
Maybe we should change that to that.
Well, maybe, but certainly it is the crimes. But see, back then that was just the thing that people did.
Yeah.
I mean, today we eat meat, right? And it's just what we do. But maybe in 100 years' time, they look at us, oh my God, they killed and ate animals. What?
That's right.
Didn't they have soy? Didn't they have Soylent Green?
Didn't they kill their own kind and eat them like we do now? That's right.
So look, have we come a long way since then? The answer is no. We have not come a long way. We've come a way, but not a long way. Because these rifts, the disrespect, the outright racism, for many indigenous people around the world, not just in Australia, that still exists. It's people's everyday life experience, and maybe look, we focus our attention on Gaza. Obviously, we'll talk about that, and people dying by the thousands. Right, it's now surpassed well over 10,000 people there that have been killed, and we look at people conflict like Ukraine, right? Ukraine, that's a terrible thing here where people get killed, but nobody really looks at the crimes that have been going on for hundreds of years. Where's the outrage? Where's the soapboxing for those crimes?
I've got a good question for you, Mackie, and that is, when was it when you discovered? I mean, some people say I was today old when I discovered making nachos in an air fryer, right? So when was it for you, which was an awakening that there are atrocities going on, and it's not in the media, and no one cares, no one's talking about it?
Or when did I first realize this?
Yeah.
It was fairly early on in my life. because again, look, sorry, a little personal history I have to dig up again. I was always treated as different because my dad was Turkish in Germany, so my name was Turkish, et cetera, et cetera. So I was always acutely aware of people being treated differently to other people. And the very first time I really understood this on a visceral level was when it happened to me. But then I realized it wasn't just me. I watched there was a TV series called Roots, as in tree roots, and I also read the book by I think it was Ed Haley, can't remember, Edward Haley maybe, and it was his family story, and the very first African person in his lineage that came to America was called Kunta Kinte. He was and he told his family story from the beginning to there, and reading, but watching the show as well as reading the book, and I was young. I was pretty young when it first came out. Was a very, because he made the slave experience very personal, right? It was a very personal experience. I had never met a black person in my life at that point. I never met an Asian person in my life for that matter. But I realized that I wasn't alone in experiencing these, I guess, racist slurs, whatever you want to call them. But there was like this subculture that existed, maybe even a dominant culture in the world, that would treat people differently. So I was aware of it at a very early age. I was not aware of the extent, right? That
how
came
widespread
later.
It was. That's right. Yeah.
I had no idea, and I always thought of, this is funny as well. I always thought of racism as something that white people do, right? When I was young, until I went to Southeast Asia, right? in my late 20s maybe, and I realized just how racist Southeast Asia is. And it's not a white thing; it's a people thing.
It is.
Racism, you know what I mean? It's a people
totally.
thing. It's astounding. Oh, well, sorry, it was astounding to me, I should say.
There's an equivalent to the N-word in Japan.
Yeah.
For white people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I wasn't that day old when I discovered it, but yeah, it's likewise. Hey, Mecca, just before it disappears off the Doppler, I'm transmitting in YouTube. I'm streaming. How old am I? I've got two things on the screen. Just real quick. There's a Bureau of Meteorology Doppler showing the remnants of a HAARP ring that is leaving up in the top left in yellow. So if you have a look at that, it is evidence once again that HAARP is being used offshore to create a downdraft of air that goes in all directions, and that's the external part of that forced push of air out, or nice cold air coming from up in the stratosphere, and it comes down as a column, hits the sea, and just goes out in all directions. We don't see the rest of that because it's too old now to see it. But what it's done is it's actually interrupted a storm front coming through and cleared the way for what was to hit Sydney. And there's a couple of clouds still forming that it won't get to, which are coming in behind it. Mecca, you're going to see those in about an hour. And at least it's cleared the way for me. Sucker. So when people ask me, Mecca, I was at an event today for our UFO Society up in Tuggerah Lakes, and one lady said, so tell me about HAARP. And there's very little that you can do to prove that it exists apart from taking screenshots and making animated, I'm going to say the real word, GIFs, even though they're GIFs to everyone else except the creator who's now passed away, of the evidence in Doppler, because you can't really see it anywhere else, and it doesn't come from somewhere. It is just it's nowhere, and then suddenly there's a downdraft, and you can tell by the Doppler that it was being enacted. Right, that's all I'm going to say. The other thing is the earthquakes in the Philippines are off the charts. There was a recent volcanic eruption, but now we're seeing in the 6s and 25s, like 20 times 5.0 or 4.9 and above quakes there, and it's just off the scale in the last day. And they're talking about Iceland, which is almost the antipode to it, almost, and the intrusion, the magma intrusion into the dike there is lifting their town up by 1 centimeter per day. So yeah, we're right on the cusp of seeing some very large events. We just got away with a solar blast from the sun, 3 CMEs in a row, and one of them caught up to the other 2, and we got Aurora Australis, Becky. In the southern states. We didn't get to see it in Sydney, which is a shame because they stayed up for it. Couldn't see it, but it was almost the kill shot. If it was much stronger, not by much, but if it was much stronger at all, we might have seen technology disappear on us. Everything being fried, like the Carrington event of 1859. So
that would be a very sobering day.
Well, we'd all be living it independently of each other.
That's very much the truth. That's.
So
it would take me probably a couple of weeks to get to your house.
Yeah, just imagine what you would have to get through to come up here.
I know, man.
Right? So that's something else. You've got to think about. It made me once again reflect upon what it would look like in the case of there being something so significant and life-changing as there not being any more electricity. Out of the many things that can possibly happen to any civilization, I used the term today, Mickey. I used, live by the sword, die by the sword. We live by electrics. We live by electricity, electrons. We're pushing electrons around against their will. And if we didn't do that, there wouldn't be anything. We can't reboot again back into the mechanical age. It's just something that we wouldn't be able to do. So I keep struggling with what it would look like. Oh, there was even a 7.6 there, Mackie, in Philippines. So, bugger.
Yeah, I reckon. I mean, what?
Yeah. So, look, it would be an extraordinary thing to try and get through. And if you have the means to form a community with your local group of people, if you're rural somewhere on the planet, you've got more advantage than anybody else. If you're sharing a tightly, a dense, tightly housed, dense environment with lots of people per square kilometre or square mile, you're going to have a more difficult time to sway those people into wanting to form a society in which everyone contributes to, and collaborates towards success. In a rural environment where probably everyone knows each other to a certain extent, right? Then you'd have more success, fewer people per mile, and then you'd be able to do that. I think you'd work together better in a rural environment. But that's all I had to do. Oh, and welcome to December, by the way, everybody.
There's that as well, yes.
Galloping towards the festive season.
Aren't we though?
Festivus for the rest of us. And I don't want to get banned, and I think that's the safest way of saying and describing this period that we're entering in. It's the end of the year, start of a brand new year. There's no global conflict that we can see immediately, like as in the next day or two. I think
Sure, but then again, do they ever announce themselves?
No. And when it happens suddenly, right? Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. We have we have entered a stage now where it becomes really, really hard to predict what's next because we have lost a lot of rational players. Okay, Just putting out there. Our rational players are no longer rational players. We think they are, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. I'm afraid. Sorry. And we'll find ourselves wondering what new wonderful stroke of genius is going to be farted out by our politicians. Because right now, I look at this. I mean, did you listen to this GOP stuff? So first of all, the chairman of this GOP thing, I think it was in Qatar or the UAE or somewhere there, right? The person that was the president of this year's conference was also the director or president or CEO of the largest oil producing company in that country. And he made a case for fossil fuels and why they're necessary.
Fossil fuels will see us through the climate change problem.
That's okay, sure.
That was grand. That was so good. I loved it.
But you see how, and again, the insanity, I have to mention it because it goes to your point of unpredictability now, I think. The insanity of having carbon trading anything is beyond words.
Mm-hmm.
We have countries that don't pollute enough, so they can sell their pollution credits.
That's right.
To somebody because that's a good idea, right?
It means that they can pollute. And look at Mackie. Think about this. Everyone has the right to pollute the world evenly. And if you're doing too much in the area you're in, well, you know what? There's areas you're not polluting, right? So you can pollute a bit over there by buying their credit. So it's like you're compensating for not polluting them, but you get to buy the credit off them. It's golden. Like if you could come up with a way of making more money out of nothing, I dare you, right?
And that's exactly what it is. We have created another way to create money. I mean, I thought the banks had it all, all tied up, all there.
They kind of do.
No,
they've got us wrapped around them. I'll tell you.
It's no. We find more. What, you think we're done? You wait. You just wait. And lo and behold, I was wrong. And there is more ways to make money.
You know, there was an Australian election. This is to everyone in all the listeners. I know, Mackie, you know this one. There was an election lost because of carbon credits. Do you remember?
I do, actually.
Our political right here, which is, I'm not going to need to tell you that it's different than American political left and right. Our political right, it's kind of out of phase by about 90 degrees. But our political right tore our political left a new one where they had to reposition themselves afterwards and go, we tried to fix the climate thing with carbon credits. And the political right, only after a couple more elections, because, it's only a couple of PMs before Christmas, was the joke. We are now looking at facing the same thing again, but now it's coming from the WEF. It's coming from above our political parties now, and is a world discussion about fixing climate by carbon credits. But does it fix anything?
Yeah, of course it does. Silence you.
Shush. Does it? It does. Meckie's echoing the point of the creators of the carbon credits, but does it? The real question is, does it actually change the amount that they pollute? No. It only exchanges money for the allowance to continue to do what you do, but it looks better on the books. I love it. What a great idea.
It's look, again, like I said, the religion, the whole banking and fiat currency, as well as fractional reserve lending system, and now this. Mm-hmm. I'm not smart. I don't think right, Dave. I don't think right. I'm not smart enough to come up with these things, clearly, because it's gold. These are geniuses.
Do you remember that? What was the lady? There was a lady who designed a new financial system. Do you remember that? at university, and
No, I don't,
she was
actually.
told she was wrong.
Oh,
That you just can't do that. She goes, "Oh
Okay.
no, I've modelled everything, right? It's all good. We're doing it wrong now." And they said, "No, you can't do that. No, it's not a thing. What we have now is the best. You can't change it. Who's going to change it?
don't change. Don't change.
I mean, it'll collapse itself because it's based on growth, and Mickey and I have talked about this a lot. It is based on growth, and you've got to continually find new markets. Well, what happens when you have all the markets? Then what do you do?
Then we make new markets. Ha ha!
I'm sure there's some planets somewhere we turn into Ferengi. We search the universe for new markets.
What were you saying? Is a bad thing? I don't understand the question. What?
I don't want my ears stroked, Mickey. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, no, it astounds me, Mickey. Taking it back to the GOP, that the fellow was saying that carbon fuels. This is net new carbon fuels, because no one's talking about E85 recyclable carbon fuels. But no, the net new carbon fuels. It's the way to fix everything, says the guy selling that product. It's gold. Well,
It absolutely is.
as long as they're still selling it, I'm on board. I'm with
I'm
that guy.
boarding.
I'm with that guy. I want to keep buying. I want to keep driving my car in its current form. I don't want to convert it to an EV. I don't want to spontaneously combust. Yeah. I don't want to be told by the EV
you're so
Jesus
negative.
Mickey that I need to get an EV.
You're so negative. Look at you being negative. Hey, what's going on there, buddy?
I want to drive the wasteland. Can't the apocalypse already happen? Can't it be happening sooner? I'm going to be like Mad Max and drive the wasteland in my supercharged car. That's what I'm going to do.
Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be? Wouldn't that be something?
Gotta get me a dog. I've got a dog. I've got to get myself a dog that'll eat.
Three-legged dog. I got a three-legged dog.
Yeah, a dog that wears leather outfits. Yeah, I've got to have a bung now. I've got a bung now. So I'm almost there.
It's.
Go on.
You go. Do it.
No. The platform is yours, my friend.
No, I'm platforming you, man. All right, listen. It is. The insanity has gotten to the point where. What do you say at this point? I mean, really, I'm not being rhetorical here. I'm not trying to be funny, but you're looking at all the things that are going on, right? Where you know the common sense, where you think it should. Simple example, really simple example. Again, and I can go on all day, but this one really sits in my croaker and is choking me. Australia agreed in its wisdom with the US and the UK to form something called AUKUS. That's a good name, AUKUS.
Yeah.
So all the Anglo-Saxon countries there, you know, that kind of sort of, not all of them, but some of them anyway. Yeah, let's get together and never mind that there's thousands and thousands of kilometers between us that making any rapid action force pretty much, you know, a moot point. But we decided we'll go in with those guys because they speak English. They look like our prime minister. It's all good, right? And we then decided to buy nuclear submarines from specifically nuclear submarines, right? And in the meantime, we turn our back on a contract for conventional submarines and specifically conventional because we didn't want nuclear submarines in the first place, right? With France, upsetting everybody in the process and liable for several penalties as well. But these submarines, these nuclear submarines from the States, they're not going to be here for like 20 years.
That's right.
And they cost tens of billions of dollars.
They
They're
cost
not going to be here for
more than our country earns. That's right.
Yeah. So to be clear, 20 years. What is the world going to look like in 20 years? And you know what the answer to that is? I haven't got the foggiest idea. Okay. not the foggiest.
If the last few years are anything to go by, there's going to be one person coughing in Australia trying to sign for the receipt of the first submarine. That's all that's left. So the funny thing is, Mekki, that the France submarines were actually nuclear-powered submarines.
Yes,
and our Australian government said, we can't have those, you see, right?
Yeah.
We're not allowed to have nuclear anything here, right? We've got a nuclear ban. So can we have those in diesel? And the French have all looked at each other like, what, you what? No.
Sure.
Sorry. No.
We make them solar powered for you.
Solar powered, yeah. You got to float the solar panels on top of them. They float, you see, as you're. So we had to have them converted to diesel, which wasn't an option, but we had to have that engineered. And then we've snubbed the deal after we've signed it, and then we had to pay an ETC or a crippling balloon payment, an out payment. That still guaranteed the people who had done the work like a year or 2 years worth of effort, which is still to come. And now we've had to spend even more money to buy these new ones. But what it means, Mekki, what it means is we're in with the good guys stuff. We're not buying... let me try not to be rude to any current manufacturer. We're not buying a Leyland P76. That's a car. Alloy block too, V8, very nice. But it was a monstrous wedge shape and it was pretty awful, although you could put a 44-gallon drum in the boot. That was one of its selling points, except that we were expecting a Ferrari. Right? So we wanted the latest thing that hadn't been made yet, and then someone tapped us on the shoulder and go, you can get the US stuff. You're what? Who? They'd never sell it to us. Oh no, we're going to make a group, see? Shush. We're going to make a group. We're not going to tell anyone. And then they made an announcement. And then 20 years before we get the submarines, which gives someone, an enemy, like for instance, a timeline in which to attack us before we get the submarines. And we'll have already spent the money. So we'll be broke without submarines and a target. Oh my God. Could you do anything stupider? Sorry, more stupid.
Well, we rubbed the nose of the Chinese in it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hey. Yeah.
You want to take my lunch money? Go on, take it. In 20 years, I'm going to come and kick you.
20 years. That's right.
I'll work out. I'll learn martial arts. I'll come and get you. Come on, man. What? Look, we're living in the age of denial, Dave. Denial of simple truths.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it by who gets into power in the world. And you can see it also by what policies are adopted. It's like, let's have another talk fest. Let's everybody get together and talk about how we can stop this. It doesn't even matter what it is. Climate change, I don't care. Pollution. Stop whatever you want. Knock yourself out. The thing is this, right? All we do is talk about it. Talk, blah, 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 blah. Do you know what a meeting usually achieves? Nothing. You just set an agenda for next meeting. In fact, hopefully there's an agenda in the meeting you're going to have. That'd be good. Someone taking notes.
Someone taking notes. Well, that's all the time. I've got to bail to another meeting.
That's right.
That's right. Well, I think from today, what we've learnt is that we should call this meeting itself. We've come up with a new name. I think it tests well, right? Right. Let's call this the Committee of Decision Making. But we haven't made any decisions. Oh, we've kind of named it, I think. Right? Have we? Have we all named it? Can we? And then you turn around, there's no one in the meeting left. You're the only one. So, look, you're right. You're absolutely right. Do we solve anything? Are we solving anything here? And what is left unsolved?
Well,
big pile.
We started talking about these things 40 years, 50 years ago even. About consumerism, not just climate change, but generally the way we treat the planet. The big thing back then was pollution, right? And overpopulation.
That was chemical pollution back then.
Yeah, totally. Overpopulation was a big thing. The ozone layer, remember they got rid of the CFCs because they caused the ozone hole to grow.
Yeah, they replaced the propellant with a different product. Yeah.
Correct. They no longer talk about the ozone hole. It's still there over New Zealand.
It's going
still
around.
there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But no one talks about it. Whatever. The extinction of the species, that's sort of, deforestation in the Amazon, it's all, people sometimes bring it up, but it's not really interesting. It doesn't hold people's attention anymore.
Because it's somewhere else.
Something new.
Where is that again? I forget.
Well, that's it's and we have most of the people that supported the Ukraine last year are really no longer into it. I'm not really into it anymore. It's not my bag anymore. It's like what? Nothing has changed. They're still fighting for their survival. It took too long. It just took too long. Unless we're not going to
renew the contract on that TV show.
Nah.
Yeah,
because
there's no more funding for it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, unless you get instantaneous results, and this is what we have taught our children for the last 20 years with Twitter, and like I said, I will never call it X, and now what's it called? TikTok. And all the other things that are happening. You just know that the attention span is just not there to focus on anything. I had this discussion this weekend with a couple of people around. We should be drowning. Excuse me. We should be drowning in geniuses, in Leonardo da Vinci's, in Galileo Galilei's. We should be drowning them.
We have access right now to all the best information on the planet. The history of humanity.
And we got 8 billion. Well, close enough. We got 8 billion people. Mm-hmm. There was nowhere near as many people when Leonardo da Vinci was alive. Nowhere near. And we're not drowning in geniuses because most of the independent geniuses, they pretty much don't exist anymore, right? I want to say here that Nikola Tesla was maybe the last one. I want to say maybe not, but maybe the others I don't know about. Sure, he was the last one of note that I know about where he just didn't care. He just invented stuff, and do I get paid for it? No, I don't care. I'll just invent more stuff. Everybody else is just looking for a paycheck and a good life. There's nobody really, I don't think, that is driven anymore, and that's really, it's going to hurt us in the long run. Corporations have taken over where governments should intervene and really support science and research, not just that, of course, art as well, of course, but certainly science and research and such. But it's the private corporations that hoover up all the best talent, and if they don't do it, it's the secret government organizations that do.
Yeah, that's right. So the new governance model, it used to be, and it's kind of morphing away from this right now, and that was political. It was your in most cases semi-voted in government officials who were using an evolving plan of governance, some more traditional and cemented in rule sets, but the height of COVID, we saw a huge change, and now a rapid change in where how we're being governed. And now, tabled is the Great Reset from the WEF, of just a bunch of wealthy people who have decided that they're going to be the ruling class on their own, and then voted in and agreed with by most of the governments of the world, with very little opposition. Honestly, in Australia we had, I think, 2 people out of 38 or something like that voted against the New World Order. Sorry, the Great Reset. Wash my mouth out. But Mekki, I'm going to say right now, with the upcoming election in the US, I've been watching something really, really strange occurring. There is, and I know you've got a term for it, right? So I'll give you the example that I saw. CNBC has been running a bunch of discussions between the host with a set of questions that are all identical, with people coming into the show as political experts, and what they're doing is they're only pointing out the independents who are running. Typically, these CNBC people would be promoting Joe Biden. Typically, they were promoting the left of a two-party system. But now, they're saying that a vote for Trump is a vote for fascism, and that he will lock up and kill opposition.
Wow.
That's
what
what
they actually said that?
Said that on air. I've got clips and I can send them to you. So you can be just as shocked as I am.
Wow.
And they're now promoting Green members of, sub-parties, I should say, independents, who are never going to get a majority. And rather than support Biden, they're supporting people to vacuum out supporters of Trump and push them in the direction of these independents, because less of a vote for Trump and more for the independent is equivalent to more for Joe Biden.
Wow.
And that is a huge difference. So in Australia, we call that teal. They're not blue or red. They're teal. Yeah. And on our political map of Australia, where it's all coloured and all the seats have these things, and during the night, the election night, the counting of the votes, our independents or teal seats, we saw last vote, last election, raise. We got a whole bunch more of those, which was very interesting. But they're saying, instead of questioning, whose vote, who do they support? They're just going, just vote for the independents because you know where you stand with them. Huh? What? And this supporting, it's an extremist view, but the supporting conversation about Trump being a fascist is it's clearly fear. Right? They're trying to stoke up the fear about what he can do. But remember, no one in power wanted him in, and they're doing everything to try and stop him. So almost the same things that they're accusing Trump to do in the future is kind of what the left is doing to Trump now. Is that extraordinary, Mackie?
Actually, it is. I haven't seen that. That's some strong tobacco there, my friend. I tell you what.
Yeah. I was shocked. I was completely shocked to see that's the position they've stood at, right?
No, I'm for independence. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, independence, I think, is the way to go. Our political systems are completely broken all over the place, and independence at least give you a chance at hashing out minority aims and forming coalitions and getting stuff done, rather than just following party policy. Because that's all they're doing. They're beating up on China with the one party system, and then party policy that dictates what they do when they come in anyway. So why you beat up on the Chinese? At least they know what's coming.
That's yeah. You know what's coming, all right.
That's surprising. It could lead to a good outcome, unless, of course, people don't vote in America, right? They just don't. The voter turnout is minuscule because you don't have to. In Australia, you have to vote. I mean, you might throw your vote away. That's up to you, but you have to turn up. You have to be there. I reckon people think if you have to vote anyway, then off you go. Might as well make it count. And that's good.
I support people voting, and even when it's voluntary, I support people voting even more strongly than I do when it's compulsory.
Yeah, well, you should.
Because if you want to have a conversation with me after the voting's taken place and the person that you didn't like has gotten in, then you can't you can't talk about it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Did you vote? No. Well, then shut up.
That's right.
It's like, well, what? I mean, it's actually insanity to wish for another outcome if you never participated. It makes
It's
like,
a quantum world, Mackie. It's going to happen.
Yay! I don't have to do anything. I'll just wait for the double slit to come my way. That's right. That's how it works, isn't it?
Is it the double president experiment?
Yeah. That's what it is. The one that falls down and the one that doesn't talk. that's the one. What? I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. It's not nice.
Mr. President.
No, look, but again, I am each week. I fear, and I feel it gets worse and worse and worse, and we're running out of superlatives to describe this. I'm running out of words to say this is insanity.
Yeah,
I am completely, because how much more can you possibly put out there before you say, okay, you know what? We need some adults in the room, okay? Let's stop all of this and let's get back on track here, because we were on track. Make no mistake, there was a track we were on several times in our history, and we always got off track. Never quite as bad as now.
Mm-hmm.
Never quite as bad, because we weren't as connected back in the day, right? 40 years ago, 100 years ago, 2,000 years ago, we weren't as connected. So if something went sideways somewhere, it would have a fairly minimal impact. Right? It could still affect, significant amounts of people, but it wouldn't have global ramifications per se. Because, I mean, look, to be honest, the Chinese didn't give a hoot what the Roman Empire did, and the Mayans didn't care what the Greeks did. Not really, right? There might have been trade between all of these people, but if something happened in the Americas, like one tribe wiped another one out, or one city-state overthrew another, or whatever.
Insular, right? It wasn't going to escape. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Didn't have any impact on anyone there, but these days, and we saw this probably best with this SARS-CoV-2 panic, how quickly it impacted everybody in the world by grounding flights, by closing borders, by destroying.
Supply chain issues.
Bingo. Yeah.
And it affected everyone globally. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Hey, and immediately, boom, done. Immediately.
Yeah. So there's a new pneumonia now that's hit America after China. It's the same one, and it's in the Netherlands and a whole bunch of other countries, and people are basically the overall message from the WHO is that it's not killing people, so it's okay. No need to close any borders or do anything. Okay, sure. It's just the flu, see. Don't worry about it. But I mean, it seems a little bit more significant than the flu, than just being bedridden for a couple of days. It looks like it's a hospital visit to undergo a greater level of care to get you through it.
Right.
And that worries me, that we're once again so slow to react to be able to prevent contamination of your country, and they're fearful, I think, of doing this from a financial situation, right? They're trying to protect ourselves from, closing flights down, and what that means is a kick-on effect or a knock-on effect. I'm watching this again, and this is around about the same time frame as we faced in, the end of 2019 going into 2020. It's repeating itself, and everyone's just looking out the side window. No one's looking out the front of the window of the car.
No, if you did that, then you might stop going in the direction you're going. That's not good.
Passengers. Woo, look at
it's not going to help anyone. Seriously, I mean, just think.
I'm going to buy a convertible so I can just put my hands up and close my eyes, like I'm on a roller coaster. Yeah, woo, right. So Mackie, there's a nice storm with a on the color scheme of black center, coming your way about an hour away from you.
It's
only small though. It's not huge.
Well, I guess that's something.
Yeah, it's something. 4 minutes.
Oh, you got the kidding. That all went quick. Yeah, look. I'm running out of ideas on how to fix any of this. To be honest with you, I'm running out of ideas, and that's saying a lot because I got lots of ideas. I don't even know what we short of something abrupt and catastrophic, right? I don't see how we can affect any change for anything at this point. It's just I don't want to say too far gone, but all the people that could don't, and all the people that want to can't, and we're here. We just keep going the way we are. Okay, there are no more plastic bags in supermarkets. That's a win.
And no plastic straws. They're all dissolvable now.
Hurrah! Apparently, paper straws are worse. I don't know.
They are. They have a chemical in them that's worse than the plastic.
So. I mean,
meanwhile, we're cleaning up the plastic island in the middle of the Pacific and Indian Oceans.
I feel like I'm living in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's right.
What it feels like.
I want to see the B ship go into the sun. That's what I want to see.
Into the sun, hurrah! Yeah. Just go at night, it'll be okay. But I'm going to land on the dark side of the sun, baby. That's what I'm going to do.
I actually watched the interview. I watched the person on one of those morning programs talking about something to do with climate and saying that what we need to do is investigate how the sun deals with its atmosphere, and this person said, and it's not artificial, it's not AI created, did say, well, I've heard it's a lot cooler at nighttime.
No.
Yes, totally. It was on one of those morning programs, and I think it was in the US. I'm not sure.
God.
But my God. Even the host of the show had to look away because it was wow.
What do you say? But there's nothing you can say to that, Dave.
This person.
It's game over. Touche. It's like the idiots have won. That's it. We're done here.
I can imagine Brian Gumbel would have taken his microphone off and just gone back to his trailer.
Last one out. Turn off the lights. Let's just all. Let's go. Let's come on, buddy.
It's time. It's time. I knew this time would come, and here we are. A bit sooner than I thought.
Now that you've said, I really wish I had a spaceship. Right now, I really wish I had a spaceship. I do. Right now. Take my family and my friends. Whoosh, off we go. Yeah, no, you're good. Thanks, and so long for all the fish. That's all I can say to you.
Thank you, Douglas.
And the thing is this: they let that person on I guess national TV. It was, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's a good idea. Let's do all that.
Serious, it was really happened. It really happened. I will find the clip and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah, please.
But you actually don't want to see it. The things you don't want to see because you just put your head in your hands and say, well, the civilization is over. Yeah. It isn't coming back from that.
And we can't even blame lead. Surely
there's something else.
At least the Romans could say, lead piping. Oh, well, fair enough. Fair enough. Understood. Got it.
Yeah.
We thought independence was a good idea.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, sorry. Oops.
yeah.
My bad.
But it was a thing. This, and there's music.
Yeah, so that's the end of the first hour with Dave and Mackie's Shiny Side Out. News is over. Coming up after the break, we will be talking about our show topic, which is the hypothesis and the epiphany, part 13. Lucky 13. So we're going to end this YouTube. There'll be a new one established for the next one. Do hang on. Take the time to donate, and we'll catch you in a couple of minutes.